Good morning, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing another video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know, and I want to talk about relying on information sources such as news, such as getting the news, the importance of having news, and I may connect this to a local event that happened yesterday. I'm going to bring that up in the later part of the video, but in a bigger sense and as some background and as an introduction to this video, it's not going to be a super long video. Uh, there is a problem with relying on news sources in general. Having what you believe to be reliable news sources, information sources, and it satisfies your curiosity. My curiosity, I'll speak for myself. I like to know what's going on. I like to, think I know what's going on. But as soon as you start relying on centralized news or networks of news that has been, processed as a product and distributed, you open a vulnerability to being, controlled, manipulated, and lied to. Really, I mean, it's a common problem. People are pretty aware of it, but I don't think people are as aware of it as they should be, and I definitely don't think that most people know what's going on. Now, here's the thing. Consider the thought experiment, if you will, that America has been taken over by Russian interests. Just a thought experiment. I'm not saying it has or has not. I'm not saying anything in particular about our actual reality. I'm saying consider it has happened hypothetically. How would you know about it? Honest question. How would you even know? Would it be in the news? Would there be a newspaper headline that says the U.S. government is now run by Russians? I don't think there would be. I can't honestly say that we have or have not. But my point is that things happen that are not in the newspaper, such as, and I will finally mention the thing that happened here yesterday in my small town that's in a fairly developed county, but it's in an outlying area that does not have a local newspaper, really. And the events that happen here very seldom hit the county newspaper or the regional newspaper. So yesterday we had what was described to me by local police as a suspected homicide. It's a pretty serious thing, yeah. They actually said homicide. I asked what happened, and they said it was a homicide. And I'm adding the word suspected myself out of respect for the accused, and it upsets me a little bit that they didn't, but that's a separate subject. They were very sure that's exactly what it was. It was already clear to them, even though by appearances, the people I was talking to, the local police, weren't even on the premises. They had not even done a cursory investigation. They had heard it secondhand through the sheriff, the county sheriff, who was taking over the case. So not only had they not seen it, they not only had they not qualified the charge with suspected, but it was already a foregone conclusion that the homicide had happened and it was in fact a homicide. Yeah, this is a new development. And I guess this is kind of a sprawling detail, but it's connected to the idea that I may never know, even living, right down the street from where this happened, what happened, because it's not going to be in the newspaper. I'm quite sure this isn't going to be in the newspaper. And the problem really is that it's not always clear where the lines are drawn between privacy and personal business and public business. Granted, a homicide, if it turns out to be ruled as a homicide in court, would be, public newsworthy, if you ask me. It's something that people should know about. What caused it? What were the events surrounding the circumstances? Who did it involve? And are we protected? Is it going to happen again? Obviously, these are important questions. Relevant, sensible questions, right? So this is why newspapers have existed historically, obviously, and TV news, all kinds of news, so that people can, feel safe. People can get information and learn from it. It's kind of an ongoing educational thing. News, keeping up with current events and history as it unfolds, learning and experiencing things. It's one of the main pieces of being alive, if you ask me, is experiencing things and understanding them. But I digress. So I want to get back to the thought experiment of what would happen if the U.S. was taken over by Russians. It is connected. I'm going to connect this in a second. So I was born in 1976. I'm going to just not beat around the bush. Makes me almost 50 years old at this time. And in the 80s, I was a young person. I was starting to perceive the news in meaningful way. There was a lot of talk about the Cold War. The Cold War had been going on for a long minute by the time I caught the tail end of it. And it seemed like a daily thing in the news. We'd hear about the Cold War this, the Cold War that. Russia's doing this, America's doing that. We're arming ourselves. There's nuclear proliferation. It was big news every day. You'd hear about nuclear weapons, the threat of nuclear holocaust, the Cold War this, going on and on. And then without ceremony, one day, without any kind of preamble or connection or any relevancy to all that news, the Soviet Union fell. And it was almost said as an afterthought. And it was so strange. I remember it was so strange because after, a full solid decade of hearing about the Cold War, it was like everybody just instantly lost interest overnight without even connecting or learning from it. Or, did we win the war? What happened? What happened to the Soviet Union? And the Cold War is over now. Are we going to celebrate? Is this? I saw nothing about it. All I heard was that the Soviet Union fell. Okay, are we happy? Is this good? Is it bad? And the thing that sticks out to me is that there was a zero connection to that whole past decade of news and sensationalism. It was for nothing. And I'm wondering, either it was made up before, or what has just now happened with the Soviet Union is common knowledge in circles where people think they know what's going on and they don't question it further. It hasn't, made its way out into network television. There's, some source of information where people are indulging in what they believe is true from some centralized news distributor, and they're just accepting it, just swallowing the entire thing that they're getting, whatever. It's unbelievable to me because obviously most people who live in this area, in California or in the United States in general, don't spend much time in Moscow. They don't go to Russia very often. Very few people, very, very few people do. So how can they be so satisfied? This is the part that doesn't make any sense. How can they be so satisfied with the abrupt, violent conclusion of an entire decade of terror and the newscasters screaming about the Cold War without questioning it? I heard nothing more about it. I heard once on one day, oh, the Soviet Union fell, the end. It's like you're reading a book and it just cuts off in the middle or something. It's like, okay, it made no sense to me. It still makes no sense. But anyway, this is connected to the news story idea that people confirm a source as being authorized. They accept a name or brand, and then what happens, like clockwork, is that brand becomes subverted towards some agenda, some propaganda distributor, and this has happened so many times throughout history. Think about the King James version of the Bible, for example. And I don't want to jump too far off ship here, but King James probably didn't put his name on the Bible without careful consideration. Kings don't usually just fly by the seat of their pants, nor do they buy things that aren't of use to them. And I do believe that the man, at the very least, edited a few things, and I don't know exactly the extent to which he did, but he saw the opportunity. I'm 100% sure King James saw the opportunity to obtain the authorized news source at the time and to control it. Do you not see how that works? Do you not see the pattern, how things, whatever people are trusting and enjoying will be purchased and edited? Oh, that's what you're listening to now? Well, let's just sidle up to that and worm our way into it. And now you're still listening to us through the thing you like. It's real easy. And that's what the sad part is, that people seem to not care or recognize what's happening to their information. And I don't want this to be a super long video. It's already almost 10 minutes. The solution for me is to check my own facts, mind my business, think locally and act locally. I'm sorry, think globally and act locally. Think about everything, but act locally, and be concerned mainly with the things that are directly in front of me, things that I can see and verify on my own. I don't need to worry about necessarily what's happening in Moscow unless it's an imminent threat. I don't need to necessarily worry about what's happening in any other part of the world unless I have people there at the moment. And if you tell me you care about people you never met, I'm gonna call bullshit on that. You can just as easily care on a profound emotional level about fictional characters. You haven't actually met those people. They may not even be real. Oh, you saw a picture? maybe you didn't even see a picture and you still care about those people. Okay. I feel like the vast majority of people, last thing I'll say is the vast majority of people would benefit from, shoring up their energy, their emotional energy, shoring it up a little bit, concentrating it on themselves until they're at least situated enough so that they can concentrate on their immediate friends and family. And if you have something left over after all that, God bless you. Start worrying about philanthropy and politics at that point. Once your circles are in order, once your poop is in a group, so to speak. But I haven't seen anybody. Honestly, I wish I had seen somebody who had their poop in a group before they started worrying about some anthill in Peru. Do you think maybe that your energy's leaking out somehow by worrying about those things and getting all worked up about news that may not be real to begin with? What if Russians are already here? How would you know? I'm seeing tons and tons of Russian stuff. Is it good? Is it bad? I mean, I'm not even passing judgment. Would it be an improvement? What if everything you heard about the former Soviet Union was a lie? What if? I mean, how do you know? My question is, how do you know? What's the right direction? How do you even know what's going on? How do you trust the news? Are you supposed to? Are you supposed to trust the news? I don't know. Something to think about. Reach out if you like with questions or comments to whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.